Welcome to another edition of Divorce-a-Palooza. Is a happy life after divorce possible? Absolutely. I say it is, and so does my guest. That is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 10 things you can do to create a happy life for yourself after divorce. My guest is Michèle Heffron, divorce, relationships, and life coach. And hi, Michelle.
Hi, Jackie. So good to see you, as
Always good to
always.
see you. I love having you on the podcast and I love having you on this because I think you write the one of the people I know who write the best articles. So I
Mm,
follow you and I get all your articles and I do read everything because really you're very, very smart with your topics. They're all so interesting. So I want to just tell everyone who's watching to follow Michelle. It's michelleheffron.com and get on her newsletter because her articles are fantastic.
yeah, and Jackie, I just wanna remind it's Michelle with 1 L. I'm kind of a tricky Michelle, so yeah,
It's Michelle with 1 L and Heffron with 2 Fs.
that's correct. Yep.
Okay. All
Alright.
right. So, Michelle, you wrote this article for Divorce Girl Smiling 10 things you can do to create a happy life after divorce. And we're not really going to have time to delve into all 10, but I'm going to pick a few of the biggies and then you can explain. Okay.
Okay.
The first thing before we even get into these is, do you agree with me? I mean, that people can have a happy life and how when you're going through a divorce, it doesn't really seem that way.
I absolutely do. In fact, a lot of what I do with, clients is help them start seeing that vision earlier, so they're it's a hard time. I mean, anybody who's gone through it or going through it right now knows how hard it is, but you can start by looking at this as an opportunity to build a future for yourself. So if you start in the middle or before you even get all the way through it, you can kind of help yourself along so it doesn't have to be so icky.
Well, I want to tell everyone who's watching that Michelle went through a divorce, just so they know that you understand. So do I. We were both there. I'm sure you and I both felt, Michelle, like hopeless. Like, am I going to ever be happy again? Is it possible? What do I want? What do I want my life to look like? What do I even like doing anymore? And that's where I think that your coaching is so critically helpful to help people because you don't know who you are after divorce, and a coach will help bring it out of you. So it's very, very wonderful work. It really is. Okay, 10 things you can do. The first one is I do have to include this. It's really, really true. You have to ask for help. Tell me about that.
Jackie, you mentioned that I had been through a divorce. I've actually been through two divorces. I honest believe if I had gotten help the first one around, I probably wouldn't have gotten married and gone through another divorce the second time around. And what help does is really help people see beyond what they think is right in front of them. And it really does help with that emotional piece. No matter how badly you want out of a marriage, or whatever is going on, it takes an emotional toll on you. I mean, Jackie, you've been there, you know just how hard it is, but it also, when you can really have somebody there helping you along, you make such better decisions. And that's what I wish I'd had help with, is I just made such poor decisions during mine. I didn't fare very well. And I know that just having somebody else there who's not an attorney or a legal professional, because they're not the ones who are handling that emotional piece of what's going on. And as you know, it can be a emotional roller coaster. One day you're fine, and the next day you're just a puddle. And so you just really, I can't say enough about. This is why I'm a coach. I just know that people need help doing this, and I'm very passionate
Well,
about this work.
also, I have a few things to say. Also, what I love about you, Michelle, is that you in your past work life were an executive, a corporate executive. And that is impressive because you can help people a lot with what am I going to do professionally? Where do I want to be? Maybe I don't want to do the same thing I did before I had kids. Maybe I have to go back to work. I don't know what the heck I'm supposed to do or what I'm trained for. And so I have so much respect for you that you you have achieved so much professionally that that's why I know you're a really good coach. The other thing I want to say is I knew you were divorced twice. I just didn't want to bring it up. I thought I'd let you do that. But you are so not alone. The divorce rate for second marriages is, I've heard, as high as 70%. And the reason that is because people decide to heal through jumping into another relationship. They don't do the work, they don't get to know themselves. They jump into a second relationship, which it's going so well. You're so happy that that turns into marriage. And then you never really did the work. And a few years later, you find, okay, this was all wrong. Now I'm going through another divorce. So there's no shame in it. But I want to tell people watching what Michelle and I are trying to help you do is avoid that, get the help so that when you find love again, you find this healthy love and authentic love that you're happy with and that is good for you.
Absolutely. And it's not just about finding that because we think of it as finding it. It's really understanding what your patterns are in life and what's been perpetuating the things or possibly the reoccurring patterns that continue to come up in your life. And it happens in all areas of our life, but really it's accentuated in a relationship. But it also helps you start to develop an idea or a vision, if you will, about what you do want in your life rather than just going out and thinking, oh, this person's got everything. They check all these boxes. They're going to be fine. But at the end of the day, it's not about what anybody looks like or how much money they make or any of these things. It's about how do you feel with that person or how do they make you feel?
And
And
do they bring out the best in you?
yeah,
How do you present when you're with that person?
exactly. I mean,
Mhm.
who do you want to be in this relationship? Me, for instance, I was invisible in my relationship. I don't want to be that anymore. That is not serving me. So I really want people to understand what is going to be of service to you in a new relationship so you're not getting back into the same old routine, the same old all the time.
Love it. Okay, I'm going to move on to another one. I'm just picking the ones that I think are good for this conversation. The next one is embrace forgiveness. So, are you talking about forgiving other people, forgiving your ex, or forgiving yourself, or both?
That forgiveness is a really big one, Jackie. I mean, many people say that forgiveness is really the key to happiness. And what forgiveness means, it's in all areas, but it doesn't mean you're letting people off the hook for bad behavior. That is not what it means. And forgiveness doesn't mean you can't set really, really healthy boundaries for yourself. When we start to forgive what's gone on in our life, especially ourselves, because sometimes really deep down, we're just kind of pissed off at ourselves for marrying that person. And it's not really about that. It's really about just letting yourself be okay with what is because it's done. What's done is done. And if you want to carry all that regret and resentment and everything along with you, you're just going to drag it along behind you in a big old sack of crap. And it's going to be carried into every other area of your life. This is an example what I did. I wanted to make myself the victim always, always, always. And just, I wanted everyone to know how horrible my ex was. Well, you know what? He was living a life and it was all great. I was the
Mhm.
one that was hurting over it.
He wasn't thinking about you, so why are you thinking about him?
Exactly. And when
Mhm.
I finally gave that up and said, okay, you know what? I really don't need to drag this around anymore. I'm going to go full on. And I did it. I ended up going through and really sorting out and forgiving all kinds of people in my life that I was blaming for all my problems. And it freed up everything in my life to a degree that it just changed everything.
Okay, so for those people watching who are not forgiving themselves, let's start with that. I want everybody to say, look, 50% of the world gets divorced. So why are you picking on yourself? So it didn't work out. Like Michelle said, don't carry it with you. You're human. You made a mistake. Move on.
Well, your
Okay.
divorce doesn't define who you are. So
Exactly. The other thing is, let's say you're the one who was left. Let's say your husband or wife left you and you're like, "Oh, I must have been a terrible spouse." Well, let's
Mm.
talk about just forgiving yourself for because nobody's perfect. I'm sure you did have some faults, but so just forgive yourself for that. And like Michelle said, no victim. Like, yes, you can feel sorry for yourself for a little while. It's very hard. I understand. I really do. But at some point, love yourself enough to say, I love myself enough to stop living in the past, to live for today, and to get the help I need to plan my future.
E exactly, and I would say in that case in particular, Jackie, well, any of these, this is when somebody can really help you so much in that area of forgiveness because it's a tough one. I'm not gonna lie. That's a really, really tough one, and it's annoying when your mother or your friend or somebody else is telling you, "Oh, you just gotta move on." It's really not just about moving on. It's about really understanding where that's coming from and being okay to tell yourself that you're over there, you're more than this. And um and that's not your identity. There's just so much more to it. I mean, we all have well-meaning friends and relatives, but it's really about kind of pulling out what all those pieces are and what they mean. So then we don't have to drag them around with us anymore. And forgiveness becomes so much easier when you understand where all the anger and the anxiety and the fear and everything is coming from.
That's where therapy comes in, is a good thing, and also coaching. Okay, we have time for one more, and I want to pick self care and self discovery. Now, they're two totally different things. So let's start with self care. What does self care mean?
Well, self care means a lot of things. Some people just think of self care as taking yourself to the spa or getting a manicure or pedicure. And that's part of it. I mean, anytime you can do something to treat yourself well, that's part of it. Self care also comes in the form of creating some really healthy boundaries around yourself. Self care comes around, saying no to some things that just aren't working for you, or saying yes to some things that maybe you just poo pooed in the past and didn't realize just how fun or awesome they could be for you. Healthy boundaries are so important. We get caught up in thinking about boundaries as somehow we're hurting other people sometimes. Let's just let ourselves take a break from some of those things that really are not necessary when you're dealing with so much other stress in your life. Let it go.
Okay, now you just talked about the importance of saying no and the importance of saying yes. I'm going to say, listen, say yes to everything I'm saying because that is how you find out what you wanna do, what you enjoy, who you enjoy being around, what you don't wanna do anymore. I'm saying people always write these blog posts like, "Say no, say no." I'm saying say yes. Now, if you're, like, exhausted and you can't keep your eyes open, okay, you're not gonna go to every single party, but say yes to as many things as you can. And if you go to something and you're like, "Oh, that was a disaster," so what? You tried it. Now you can cross it off the list and try something else. That is what I believe self discovery is. And I think that when people get divorced, they don't really know who they are and what they want. And the only way to find out is to go do. Be with people you really like and enjoy being around. Cut out the toxic people and try different things, like Michelle wrote in her article. Get a new hairstyle, get a new outfit, get a makeover. Treat yourself to an adventure, like a retreat. I had never been on a women's retreat. I went on one last fall. It was the best thing, one of the best life decisions I've ever made. A new coffee place, you write. So you just got to try things. And I love how you wrote, approach this new chapter of your life with your head held high.
Absolutely. And self-discovery is more than just a few little changes or saying yes. I mean, because I do think sometimes it's okay to say no. And it doesn't mean saying no to great opportunities. That's not what I'm talking about. It's saying No, I'm not going to allow myself to go down that road of a pity party again this afternoon because that's not going to serve me in my best interest. Self discovery also helps people kind of take a deeper dive into who they are. It's not just from the external what's going on, it's really about what's also happening within, because that's where we discover who we really are. And that helps us become really more honest with ourselves. It really does. And I spend a lot of time really helping people to kind of take their focus out of the outside world and put their focus on their inside world, because we learn so much more about who we are that way. And that's where the wisdom is gained.
Michelle, thank you so much for being on Divorce-a-Palooza.
Thank you. This is fun, Jackie.
I know, it is. So if you are watching this and you liked what you heard and you want to talk to Michelle, she offers a free consult. You can find her at michelleheffron.com, one L in Michelle, two F's in Heffron, michelleheffron.com. You can also find Michelle in the trusted professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.